We're live, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call a meeting to order. I acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation and Treaty 3 territory. My name is Neil Harden. I'm chairing today's panel. With me are Tracy Anderson and Diane Knight. Their secretary today is Crystal Harland, and the assessor is Jeremy Pohl. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we'll limit discussion to those matters. Statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have and the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application is being brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will hear item 2 on our docket today. Mrs. Harland, please affirm the assessor's and applicant's testimony.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Mr. Assessor, would you please state your full name?
Jeremy Ryan Pohl.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Applicant, would you please stand? Would you please state your full name?
Carson John Horsburgh.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you.
Okay, the only item on today's agenda is 1345 Taylor Avenue. We have a couple of preliminary issues to deal with. So, Mr. Pohl, can you read in the base information? Then we'll deal with the preliminaries.
File number is 25335. The roll number is 1340. Sorry, the roll number is 1209780657. The civic address is 1345 Taylor. And the 2026 assessment is for $6,802,000.
All right. Now, the first thing we must deal with is apparently the city's evidence was submitted late. Mrs. Harland, do we know how late that was?
I believe it was a day.
A day late. Okay, Mr. Hosber, do you have any difficulty in accepting the city's brief?
Mr. Harden, in the past, once I submitted a disclosure late, no grace was given to me by the assessment department. They requested that my evidence not be heard. I would request the same of this board. The assessor has done this job for over 20 years. He knows that evidence has to be submitted on time. I would request that the board not allow his evidence to be heard.
Okay. I just note that down. All right, Mr. Pohl, the reason the evidence was submitted late?
Just to actually go through it was originally supposed to be here. This appeal was originally supposed to be heard on October 7th. After viewing the property, I requested an inspection of the property. It wasn't able to be, we weren't able to have that hearing on, or the appeal on October 7th. That's the adjournment request, or that's why it was adjourned to facilitate more time to review it. At that point, I asked for the inspection from the agent. The agent indicated he would get back to me with an arranged inspection. He never did. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to view the property. There was a change in use of the property, or a partial change of use of the property. Without seeing the property, I'm left in the dark on how to value the property. So I couldn't submit it on that day. I took an extra day. I did follow up with a request for inspection of the property. Apparently it was granted, but then taken away. I'll get to that in a moment. But the reason why it's delayed is because I don't and still haven't viewed the property. So at that point, I don't think a day late is out of line. The fact that there was a failure to grant an inspection of the property, so the assessor could facilitate a complete review of the property and produce evidence for this hearing. So with that, I'll leave it to you.
Okay, Mr. Horsburgh, is that, in your opinion, correct submission?
Some of it is correct. We did try to facilitate an inspection. The client, we had to cancel one date and reschedule. The assessor wasn't willing to accommodate the other date we proposed. I requested that the assessor send an associate. You know, there are over 40 staff at assessment taxation that could have came out to inspect the property, take photos, provide Mr. Pohl with the photos. I have provided the email chain in my rebuttal. I did everything I could to facilitate the inspection. Again, the department has over 40 staff that could have came out to inspect the property. Mr. Pohl didn't feel it was appropriate to send someone else in his place. But we did everything we could to facilitate the inspection, and I've provided the email chain to support that fact.
If I'm allowed to add.
Yep.
There was no attempt to make a timely inspection when the assessor requested it. It was over a month with no response from the agent. When the assessor makes a request for an inspection, it's a timely matter. Every agent I deal with, simple phone call, okay, we'll get it and we get back to you. That never happened. This email happened after the evidence submittal deadline. It was triggered by me requesting it yet again. So that is not quite correct. The failure is he didn't allow for the inspection. What I tried to do is still facilitate if you give me an inspection even after the evidence submittal. If I feel the assessment needs to be adjusted, I'll make that adjustment in hearing. That wasn't the grant, that wasn't possible. I still haven't viewed the property. So at this point, we asked for the inspection and the time and manner to view the property to produce evidence for this hearing, and if necessary, make an adjustment to the assessment. We didn't get that opportunity to inspect the property. We also made the request to do it after submittal. We didn't, although the email I haven't seen your rebuttal yet, but I have it here as well. You can read from it yourself. I made every attempt to view the property, and it was on set date. And then the agent decided that no, it couldn't make that date, and for the assessor to send somebody else. That's not how the Assessment Act reads. That's not how day-to-day course of how we do this reads. I'm not going to send a field inspector. I'm not going to send anybody else. The assessor is making the request. That would be me under appeal. The appeal assessor needs to see the property, not another member of the assessment department. So at that point, I think you have all the evidence you need to review for the late submission. If you want to go on to non-compliance, which is tied into this, I'm fine with that as well.
Okay, do we have that email chain in our SharePoint there, Mrs. Harlan?
No, you don't.
Okay, can
That's the secondary one. That's the reason for the adjournment to today.
what was that? I didn't catch it.
There was two emails, one to facilitate the adjournment to today from the original hearing date, which is separate. At that point, we were going to get the inspection, so there was no real conversation in that email, but that's the reason why we're here today. And then the later email is the requesting yet again of the inspection and granting it, then denying it. So
Okay, Mrs. Harlan, can you place that into our SharePoint so we can view the timeline?
I can, Mr. Chair. I need to scan it first because
Oh.
I don't have a digital copy.
Okay,
Well,
If-
if it's just in the sense of my rebuttal, I've got the email
Yeah.
chain in my rebuttal.
Okay.
If you want to provide that.
As long as I get to see it, we're good. I
Okay.
understand.
So I have a question, Mr. Chair. I have this in my file as rebuttal. Do you
Yep.
want to see it now, or do you, like, I'm. How do
Um, the rebuttal is on the specific issue of the um, evidence being submitted late? Is it, or is it a more,
Correct, yeah.
okay, then we should see it now. It would be appropriate, I would guess.
So Scott.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I will send you the assessor's rebuttal, which relates to what you're dealing with now. You can just give me a moment, please.
Okay,
I'll put that into your OneDrive file.
May I ask, Mr. Chair, given that this is issue, can I see the rebuttal as well? Can I get a printed copy? Just to confirm that it is the complete email chain.
you mean the what Mr. Horsburgh was going to present?
I'm sure it is, but I don't have it.
Yeah,
can-
sure.
If you want to just look at this.
I was going to ask Mr. Horsburgh if those emails in your rebuttal reflected what he had in his rebuttal as well.
That'd be fine. Thank you. No need to waste time.
Okay. Let us know when it's in the SharePoint.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just a moment, please. My computer's a little cranky. All right, so I'm going to take the assessor's rebuttal and put it into your OneDrive now.
Or the applicant's rebuttal.
Oh,
Or
pardon me.
both.
I don't, it's not.
Okay, I'm going to do both then. All right, Mr. Chair and panel, if you refresh your OneDrive, it's in there, both items.
Okay.
That's okay.
And
Sit here right now.
There you go. Oh. Mr. Assessor.
Thank you.
okay. Okay, Mr. Horsburgh, do you wish to speak to your rebuttal first?
Sure, certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, ultimately, asking that this section 53, 3A and B be applied to this hearing, I do believe that's not appropriate. As you can see in the email chain, we did do everything we could to facilitate the inspection. This time of year is quite busy for the assessors and for the tax agents. Everyone's busy with hearings. It's not always easy to facilitate an inspection. We did everything we could. Unfortunately, one date had to be canceled. Alternative dates were provided. And again, the assessment department has well over 40 staff that would have been perfectly capable of coming out to look at the property, take photos, provide it with the assessor. There's nothing in the act that says that the assessor himself or herself that requests the inspection has to be the person who comes out and inspects the property. I'm an ex-employee of assessment and taxation. This request is totally inappropriate. We did everything we could to facilitate the inspection. And again, they have over 40 staff that could have came out to inspect the property.
Okay, now, Mr. Poole, your rebuttal,
I don't really have rebuttal to this, I just have commentary on it. I just
Okay.
want to make it clear, if you read from the last sheet, page 7. You get back to the first, it gives you the complete email chain as it was sent. You read the paragraph that I sent, it clearly indicates that at the time the inspection was not granted prior as requested. There was over a month to facilitate that from the agent. That did not happen. That in itself is a failure right there. The assessor is the appeal assessor. We're not giving it to another staff member. I've done this for over 20 years. When you're under appeal, it's the appeal assessor is doing it. That's not a logical choice that anyone would make. I don't send a field inspector to do my work and for appeal purposes. So that point, that is a failure. I tried to be accommodating to the property owner. I had to submit late, 1 day late, and I still tried to facilitate an inspection. After which I can make any adjustments. The failure was the prior request. So you'll have to make a ruling on that.
All right. Ms. Anderson, do you have any questions of either party?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think so at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Knight.
What was the original date of the request of to look at the location?
Before the, it was the year or two before, September 19th, it would have been the original date that conveyed to Visa Hunter, the movement to this hearing, the German.
Okay, and when did you hear back from the client?
I didn't, I sent that email.
So that wasn't till November 10th or 9th you sent the email?
Yes. There was no
So
inspection.
why did it take you from September 19th to November 9th to send that email? Why wouldn't you send it 2 or 3 weeks out?
Because I already made the request. I already
Okay,
made
but
the request.
if you don't get an answer back, why don't you send a second email asking for more information?
Because that's not how we do things as far as requesting inspections or sending out income expense questionnaires. The court's been very clear, one request. However, the assessor is determined to make this up to the assessment department. In this case, it was a phone call. And then an agreement to make an inspection. At that point, the request has been made. The assessment department doesn't follow again and again, whether it be for inspection or for sending out income expense questionnaires. One request is enough. And that's what we did.
Okay, and then on your email here, you originally say you're available on the
Yeah, just so we're clear, you read through the email, an inspection was granted after the original failure. I was still gonna make.
right. So on your original email back on November 6th, you say you're available on the 10th, the 12th, the 13th, and the 17th. And it's not until the 12th, and you had agreed to meet on the 12th, on the 7th, and then not until pardon me, you agreed to meet on the 13th, but on the 12th at 2:21 p.m., you say you can't meet the next day, and you need to change that to Friday.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, Carson said that. Sorry.
I tried to get more available dates. I have other matters to attend.
Yes.
We already made it, like, just so we're clear, we already made the inspection request over a month earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That was granted up until, and that's why this deal is a day late. I had evidence.
Okay. So Carson, can I ask Carson a question now?
Certainly.
So Carson, why on let's get the date right, on the 12th at 2:21 p.m., you say, sorry, can't make the time for tomorrow, and I need to reschedule this?
Yes, sorry, I had a personal matter come up that day, and so I had to cancel. I'm on a small team. I'm a team of 2 staff who work for MNP in this line of work. Again, the assessment department, they've got 40 staff who could have accommodated the inspection. The property we're talking about today, it's a good portion of it is owner occupied. So again, they're running a business there, so it's difficult for them to find a time where, you know, you can bring someone in and not interrupt everyone.
Mhm.
And then my own availability is restricted as well, given the volume of appeals that I deal with.
Right.
So I did what I could to facilitate
So
it.
when you knew you were canceling on the, so what day was so on Wednesday, you wanted to change it to 9:30 Friday. And then the assessor says he's not available on Friday. He's only available on the 17th. You're saying you can't attend on the 17th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. You were fully booked on the 17th and 18th, and then he comes back with, okay, I got it now. Thank you.
Okay, we've I guess the issues are intermingled here in terms of the preliminary, the request for deferral and the preliminary.
Hold on. I apologize, but we're dealing with 2 points. Point A, which is the inspection. Point B is the failure to produce the rent roll, which with the submission, there's 2 distinct parts to this. That's why there's A and B. For 50.
Okay, so you're requesting a deferral both for failure to allow an inspection and then failure to on the financials?
Just to be clear, for point A, it's the failure to for the timely inspection that comes with a reversal of onus and not a deferral. Point B is the inadequate submission, if you deem a failure, which would also come with a reversal of onus and the deferral. So
Okay,
to make 2 decisions, the deferral does not come with the failure for inspection.
all right, all right. Thank you for that. We'll deal with the financials later because we have not looked at the financials as yet. Then we'll just deal with whether to accept the late submission at this point. And the so really we're dealing with the late submission right now, and the next we'll deal with the reversal of the onus and the financials. Okay, is there anything either party wishes to add then on just the late submission?
I'll just summarize, again. Please, do not allow this assessor to get away with it and to beat on this taxpayer. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Poole?
There was no inspection granted. It was a request made prior to the original hearing date, submit date, for the original, October 7th, hearing. Over a month was gone, no response, no inspection was arranged. I made another attempt, even after having to submit this a day late, to have further inspection and adjust the assessment coming into the hearing if necessary. I'm trying to be reasonable with the taxpayer. At this point, it seems like the agent did not facilitate the inspection. Perhaps he was too busy. Perhaps he should have sent another member of his team to walk me through the building. But the Municipal Assessment Act is very clear, and this board of orders have been very clear. The assessor is under appeal, or has the appeal, is the person to walk through the property, inspect the property. We don't send an inspector, we don't send other staff members, they're not handling the appeal. So at that point, I am being fair to the taxpayer. This does seem to be a misstep on the agent. This is not facilitated by the assessor's actions at all. In fact, the assessor took corrective actions to try and still bring the appropriate information to the panel. There was an inspection after the failure arranged, and then the agent again denied that. So at that point, there is a clear failure.
All right, thank you. We will now.
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure,
Sorry.
if you have one, yes, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
do. So this letter that you sent Jeremy is dated November 12th at 3:55 p.m. saying that, sorry, the request is not appropriate. We will proceed to the hearing and request the burden of proof be placed on the applicant. The date of your submission is the 19th. Is that correct?
The day before, I believe, yes.
So why did it take a week for you to do that?
Sorry,
Why did it take a week for when you sent the email saying that,
Oh, sorry, because I was hoping not to do that. Like I'm trying to explain, if I would have gotten the inspection even after the failure occurred, I'm still following up, trying to get an inspection to go to appeal. If I did get the inspection on the date we agreed upon, after the submittal of our evidence, I could still make an adjustment, I still need the property.
but that's
Fail-
not what your email says. Your email says we will proceed to the hearing requesting that the burden of proof
Because
be
they,
placed on the
because they
applicant.
did, because they canceled that date on Thursday and didn't give me an opportunity to inspect.
Right, but you don't say, I'm looking for, do you have another inspection time? You don't say anything about that in that
We're in
email.
loss, yeah, I'll go through here. We start on page 8.
I'm looking at the November 12th, 3:55 PM, where you emailed Carson saying, sorry, but your request is not appropriate. The ATD will proceed to hearing and will be requesting the burden of proof be placed on the applicant for non-cooperation.
Yes,
So was there a
because-
reply from Jeremy at that point saying anything? Or
No,
from,
this-
not from Carson saying anything at that point?
No, this was the last response, and this was after they canceled the inspection after. After evidence submittal. So they not only didn't give it when we first timely requested it, I'm still trying to make it. We agreed on a date. If I could have viewed it then. Okay, but then they canceled that too. And then said, please send someone else. Well, no, the assessor under appeal goes. That's why it reads that way. That's a
Right,
very-
but on the 12th, you said no more, like, this is it, this is that your request is not appropriate, period, but you don't put your application until the 19th. Why did it take a week for you to do that?
Sorry, maybe I'm not understanding.
So the
Put it-
paperwork we're looking at
Yeah.
shows the date of November 19th. This email shows November 12th. Why did it take you a week to put that paperwork together and send it in?
You mean my evidence?
Yes.
I
If on the 12th, you've said not appropriate, this will go to hearing requesting the burden of proof be placed on the applicant. You've said
Yeah.
everything you needed to say. You have no reply from him on the 13th or 14th, but it takes you till the 19th to send that.
Well, today is the 19th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's dated today.
I don't understand. Maybe I'm
Do they all say today's date on them then? Is that? Like, that's where I'm kind of going. Your report says 19th at 9 AM. So did you send this on the 19th? When did you send this report in?
the day after the submittal date. It would have been, I don't have it in front of me, it would have been, the date, I think it was, second. I submitted it on this date, I submitted it on, and it speaks to it on page 6. On November 6th, submittal date was November 5th. Just so we're clear, I'll read it. So
Okay, I'm trying to find that, sorry.
There's some confusion here. Good morning.
Yeah, there is, yeah, 'cause I'm looking
As
for
already
that.
discussed, and the reason for the adjournment of this appeal to November 19th. I'm still waiting for you to arrange an inspection for this appeal. As you indicated, it may be difficult to get the owner to grant an inspection. Have you approached the owners? Have you made the request yet? If you will not allow an inspection, I'll have to request non-cooperation for 53A, which is the failure for the inspection.
Mhm.
If he will allow an inspection, I'm available next week, November 10th, 12th. And 13th, as well as the following week on the 17th. As well, given the inspection was not completed before the evidence submittal deadline yesterday. I'll be submitting my briefs today, and I did.
Okay,
I'll make any adjustments if necessary, if I feel are required, if an inspection is granted. So I had to submit my brief in the dark. I haven't seen.
okay. So you submitted the brief without the inspection
Correct,
and it was done and the brief came in one day late, correct?
exactly, and as we get into why, it'll be clear, there's a change
Yeah,
in the properties.
Okay. Okay, I'm good then. Thank you.
All right. Anything arising from that, Tracy or Miss Anderson? Okay. We will take a break and then At this point, we're simply deciding whether to accept the city's brief. So we'll take a break while the board confers, and we'll be back.
I'll take us offline, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back. The board has considered the submission of the parties on whether to accept the city's brief. We are cognizant that there would be substantial prejudice to the city's position if their brief is not allowed. And given it was only 1 day late, we will permit the city's brief to be placed into evidence. But I will admonish the city that by the time the first email was sent, they should have had their brief in. In the future, to make sure you get your brief in and in time, and then if necessary, you can modify it once it's being received. So now, so we will permit the city's brief to be placed into evidence. Now, the second issue, I mean, we've touched on it quite a bit, is on the burden of proof for non-co-op and reversal of onus. So, Mr. Pohl, if you can lead us through your evidence on that point.
For point A, it is the failure to grant the inspection. I think we've already discussed that at length. So that comes with the reversal of onus only. For point B, if you go to my page 10, that is for failure to report. Now there's, did you submit it late? Did you submit it at all? Or is there an inadequate reporting? That is the failure. It was received clearly, but it wasn't, it was incomplete information that we sent. So I'll go through page 10, starts the income expense questionnaire that we received. We received the first 2 pages blank. We sent all 4 pages, including a request for rent roll. We did not receive that. On the next page shows NMP submission in full. We see that as we go through it on page 14, there does appear to be some reporting of cost for the property, but there is no reporting of what the rent roll is, tenancies, leaseable areas, vacancies. If there is any, there has been no reporting of that. So at that point, that is a failure. We need that, and that correlates to how we're valuing the property now and the change of use that occurs. So to me, that's a complete failure. We see that we need to report the rent roll even if it's vacant. We need to know what the square footages are, if the leaseable areas have changed, if if the change of use, if there's a change of use, is it office, is it medical, is it only office now? We never got that information. So at that point, there's a failure to report, and with that comes the reversal of onus and the deferral if the panel decides that that wasn't a failure.
Okay, any questions on this, Mr. Horsborough?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do note that in several pages of the addenda, they are providing the areas. So I guess my question would be, what more could they have provided?
Mr. Chair, starting on page 16 and moving backwards, I brought in the prior submissions. Those aren't for the year under appeal. Those are prior years. We had a change of use of the property. What it shows is that the property owner is in possession and control, obviously, of who their tenancies are. So simply because I went back 5 years to look at everything for this appeal, because I'm left in the dark, that doesn't constitute a reporting. That's reporting that occurred years ago. The failure is for the 2022 reporting year. So if you look on page 18, for example, the 2021 submission, they do report the rent roll, which they have. If you go to 2022, which is the year that we're seeing the failure on, they don't report that.
So then if I can ask another question, Mr. Chair. Is it just the 1 year that they didn't provide the breakdown of the square footages?
Correct.
Okay, and in the past, they had provided that information?
That's why I'm showing they have possession control over it, yes.
Okay. So I don't know, is it really fair for 1 year they didn't do it, they've only done it in the past, is it really fair for 1 year they didn't do it for this large of a penalty to be levied? I don't think that's fair.
Mr. Chairman, there is a failure here. They did not report. Not only is there a failure here, there is a change of use of the property, partial or complete. I'm not sure at this point. I'll get into that in questions. But it is clear that they did not report. The constant, the raised point of, is it fair? Isn't a matter to withhold a deferral and a non-compliance penalty. The failure is there. We need that information. In this case, it does impact the property subject itself. We also need that information for modeling purposes. For other properties that we assess, we take market data. If you don't convey that to us, that is a failure. So at that point, pretty clear they did report the 2022 year. They do have possession and control over other years, which I brought in to prove that fact. At that point, I think I brought in the evidence that I need to show them now.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Horsburgh?
No, Mr. Chair, summation if I may.
Well, we will have questions from the panel, and then you will have an opportunity to give a submission if you wish. We were just questioning the city on their submission, so. Ms. Knight, any questions on the city's?
So on page 18, that is what you were actually looking for the 2022, which would have been then April 1st, 2022 to March 2023, correct?
Right now, yeah, it wasn't submitted with the submission for the 2022.
Right, because you'd be looking for April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Anderson?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, question I have, and it might be a bit of a technicality, but you didn't provide the covering letter.
It wasn't sorry, go ahead.
No, typically the city provides covering letters when to show exactly what it was they were asking for.
Yeah, just so we're clear, the failure wasn't, did it go to the right person? Did it go to the right person on time? We had a response. By definition, it made it to the right property owner and they responded. So that cover letter where it went to, that element of failure isn't under appeal here today, so it's not necessary. We did have we did see what they submitted back to us, and they did approve the rent roll. They didn't approve the leasable areas or the big secret, so the only entity that would know that would be the property owner by definition, and so it's been answered, it just wasn't answered incomplete. It wasn't accurate. So that's the point of failure.
Okay, all right. So Mr. Horsburgh, your presentation on the non-co-op then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really all I have to say on the matter, the owner of the property has provided very robust financials. They missed the rent roll. I suppose it does appear that they missed the rent roll, but I mean, they provide very robust financials. I mean, it's quite a steep penalty to ask just because they missed one thing. When they've always complied, they've always provided everything. 1 year they miss it, but they're still providing their financials. They're providing very robust information to the city. You know, I think it's too steep a penalty to ask for missing one thing. You know, the assessor's done everything in his power to deny to rob this taxpayer of any sort of justice for what is an overassessed property.
Well, that's a bit contentious at this point. We don't know whether it's overassessed or not. Any questions on that, Mr. Paul?
No, I just like to point out, maybe I missed it, but I also submitted the Boeing versus the city assessor. Its highlights on page. It highlights on page 21, and it's highlighted for your convenience exactly how it would be implemented. And one of the points of failures is inadequate failure. Should the board deem that this was inadequate, so it's basically a quick look off of literacy acted. It is a failure. I can go through the case line. I don't feel I need to today, but it is there for your reference if you need it. But at this point, I think the failure has been proven. They did not report a key component of what we sought, and we're asking the deferral and the first bonus to go along with that.
I noticed you also provided some of the Richardson.
No, that
decision.
was Boeing versus city assessor, which highlights Litcherson. It was the second go over of Litcherson.
Oh, okay.
So it's just highlighted for your convenience, for your reading.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Anderson, any questions of Mr. Horsborough?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Ms. Knight?
The page on page 18 is what's missing from the year that we're looking for, correct?
Yes,
So that's telling you all the rent that he's charging so that you can base your information based on his, like what rent you would charge as opposed to what rent he would charge, correct?
we use those rents to determine what model rents for other properties, subject property as well. We use that to determine vacancies. Is it vacant? Is it not? And then correspondingly, was it occupiable? Was there a change where it was renovated where we would take it right out? We would have to look at it. If we don't get that reported to us, can't use that data. And that's what we sought. That's what we
Right.
got.
Even though the total rents are very similar from one year to the next, you're still looking for that rental breakdown, correct?
Yeah, we isolated to the year under question. We can't look backwards and say you reported a number of years. This was the year you didn't. Therefore, we'll grant the just disregard it was a failure for the year that we asked.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so the board will adjourn again and then consider the both the reversal of onus and the penalty.
Thank you.
Can you just give everybody to go with that, please? Thank you. Just a moment, Mr. Chair, I'll be right back.
Okay.
We're back online, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome back. The board has considered the submissions of both parties, and we are prepared to grant the deferral for both the non-inspection or the reversal of onus for the non-inspection, as well as the reversal of onus and deferral, 1-year deferral for the inadequate financials. So having said that, Mr. Hosbury, you may wish to consider whether you request just for confirmation or not.
Well, Mr. Chair, I do have another hearing this afternoon, so I mean, I would be tempted for the sake of time management to ask for it to be confirmed. But I do feel I owe it to my client to continue with the presentation. But I will keep it brief because we have established that it is rather moot at this point. So if you allow it, I'll continue with my presentation, but I will try to be brief.
Okay.
Thank you. So the subject property, 1345 Taylor Avenue, file number 25335, 2026 appeal year, assessed value of $6,802,000. If the board will follow me to page 4 of my disclosure, M&P has valued the property via the income approach, and we have determined a market value of $5,014,000. If the board will follow me to page 5, the executive summary provides a description of the property, as well as some of the issues in contention. But again, I will try to keep it brief. We can move ahead now to page 12. That is the city assessment. And on page 13, I provided the city assessment alongside with M&P's valuation of the subject property. Really, the issues of contention here are the potential income of the subject property, the shortfall rate applied, and the capitalization rate applied. Moving on to pages 14 and 15, I provided photographs of the property, exterior. Moving on to page 17, speaking to the purchase price of $7 million in 2019. The property was purchased by an owner occupier. It was not purchased as an investment property. At the time of purchase, there was a large anchor tenant of a medical clinic in place. Subsequently, they left in recent years. So the market would no longer support a value of $7 million for the subject property, especially given the market for office properties in Winnipeg and how much that market has worsened in the post-COVID years. So the determination of potential income, I provided the tenant list here. Unit 101, Prairie Trail Physiotherapy. Unit 102, Element Consulting. That's owner occupied. Unit 103, Asante Financial Management. And then Unit 200, again, owner occupied, Element Consulting. So in order to determine the potential rent, we've applied the rents below shown in that table. Moving on to page 18, we've looked at comparable rents for the subject property. And then on page 19, we have looked at the shortfall rate. And based on the expenses provided to assessment and taxation, the shortfall rate for this property should amount to $13.57. Moving on to page 21, discussion of the capitalization rate. Moving on to pages 22 and 23. Looking at this property, we have applied a capitalization rate of 6.5%. Certainly when the market would look at a property that is substantially owner occupied, if that property were to sell, it's not likely that the owner would stay there as a tenant under a new landlord. So the potential for the market looking at it, they would likely have to release the majority of that space, hence a higher adjustment to account for risk. And really that's my presentation. So that's how we've came to $5,014,000. Again, admitting that this is rather moot, I've done my best to just explain it briefly. And with that, I'd welcome any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pohl, questions?
Brief question or few questions here, given the circumstances. To be clear, this is a supplemental assessment. There was a simple assessment given out in 2025. 2025 year wasn't appealed. 2026 year was. Can you please turn to your page 13. Your potential income. That's approximately $17.07.
Correct.
That potential income, is that completely office space? Or is that office medical? Where are you pulling, how are you coming to that CGI?
So looking at, yes, the office rental, I mean, the physiotherapy unit, I suppose it could be up for debate if you want to consider that medical space or office space. It would be similar to both to some degree.
Okay, so if you turn to your page 17, you're looking at your reported actuals, correct?
Yep.
And then on the next page, you have office for your top chart.
Correct.
Medical for your bottom chart.
Correct.
The supplemental assessment removed the office or sorry, the medical from the office, from the building, the subject property. Why would we be considering a component of medical when medical is no longer in the building?
Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware.
That was the whole purpose of the inspection request. That was the whole reason why we sent out a supplementary assessment. That was the reason why we needed the reporting of the rent roll to see what was going on. So would your PGI not be impacted by including a distinct section of your market that's no longer in the building?
Certainly, yeah.
With that, I think and other than the shortfall, your requested vacancy is 6%, correct?
Correct.
And with such a small difference in shortfall and a small vacancy, it wouldn't really impact.
No, not really.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, Ms. Anderson, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Knight?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, your presentation, Mr. Poole?
Given the circumstances, I'll be a bit briefer. I brought in 850 Pembina Highway. 850 Pembina Highway was a municipal order that I had that I completed for getting the comps on this as well. It's a collection of 3 OFS properties for the Waverly Pembina Taylor area. It's a recent appeal, and it's basically a how-to value larger office buildings in that section of the city. So that's where primarily they're located. So I'll go through it quickly. I won't belabor on it. I'll let the board read through if it will. I did highlight the ones that I wanted to bring up on page 8 of the order. The assessor presented 23 CRU comparisons in the rent analysis of the 10 suburban offices around the Pembina Highway, Waverly Taylor area, or the PWT area. And this was for the 2 different assessment cycles. Obviously, we're not going to take the rents from here, but the methodology that we used, I did apply here again. It's basically carbon copy, just updated. So to the reference date. So on the next page over, highlighted in yellow, in determining the market vacancy, the assessor utilized the same 10 suburban office properties, identifying the rent analysis and concluded vacancy of for those 2 reference dates. So basically what we did was for larger properties, better quality properties, larger office buildings in this area, how do we value it? The board answered how to value it. I'm providing the rationale for you as well. I'm implementing that here again. There is just one other thing I want to point out as far as analysis in the decision. If you look on page 29, it's going to be clear here about the cap rate. Part of this property was impacted by an expropriation. The LDAC is a separate board. Obviously, they deal with expropriation matters. The municipal board doesn't. We have some contentions there. That was the main thing that differentiates this between today's appeal. You can push that off aside. It doesn't have any impact here today. But our determination for the 2 reference dates coming up to April 14th and April 16th was 6.75% and 6.25% for the 16-year. So we see a capitalization rates coming downwards. They agreed. We're in today what we are. I do feel it is still in line with what was already determined in full appeal. But they did make an adjustment here for the expropriation. They increased it by a 3/4 point. Please don't do that. That was dealing specifically with expropriation matters. So, but I did feel like this was a good how to value type of properties when you get to a 4 or 5 year deal. So from that point, I did the same methodology for this property without seeing the property, unfortunately. So we go through it on page 2. We see that it was purchased in 2019 for $7 million. I did review what was on file. It does appear that it was purchased for property owner moving into an owner occupied situation, but the vendor that would be selling it would be looking to get market. Yeah, you may be using it for owner occupied purposes later on, but the vendor would be selling it based on what he can get from market. And that would be based on the approach, what it could generate in rent. So I do think that sale is valid. Whether it was a change of use after the fact, that was agreed upon date between arm's length seller and on arm's length buyer acting in their best interest for both parties. So I do think that's valid. Having said that, we will move on with the review. I don't want to isolate just to one particular sale, but after reviewing the property, I talked to couldn't get in the property. I talked to the inspector who was assigned the permit. The property owner did not allow the inspector in the building either. I confirmed this with the inspector. I said, hey, did you get in the property? Do you have anything? Do we know what's happened? They just said they wouldn't allow him in the building. I think it was because it was messy, or maybe it was still under construction. I'm not sure, but we didn't have anyone in the building. I have no pictures on file. I have no anything to go from. Hence the necessity of the inspection. And obviously the rent roll up would have been able to glean what we could from it as well. So we see that after purchase, there was approximately $1.8 million spent on the property, with the permits highlighted below. Permits are on the next few pages over. It indicates that there is a change in use, whether it be whole or in part, I'm not sure. So from that point, we sent out a supplemental assessment that removed the medical component. I'm assuming that is gone. I haven't confirmed that, but all indications that we have is that it's gone. And what was it replaced with, given that it looked like an owner occupied purchaser, it's most likely all office. To what degree that renovation occurred, because it's better space for the spaces that were medical and up to date is the former spaces that were already office still the way they were. I'm not sure I can. So, but from that point, I will go through the comparables the same way I did for the 850 Pembina municipal order. It's a bit more in depth than I would have usually do for this kind of board division level appeal, but I do think this is appropriate, and this will be the format that I'll be doing this for all of his properties in this region of the city, as it's easy enough to be a higher level look. So if we look at the comparables, I use the exact same comparables. I did remove comparables at 865 Waverly. Surprisingly enough, this building converted over to gross rents. At that point, I would remove that out from. Gross rent is a different application of rent. Net rent is more secure to the property owner. So at this point, I did still show it, but I did not include it as far as the rest of it goes. Comps 4 to 21 are the remainder. And as you can see, for the total amount of area, approximately 280,000 square feet, we have an average rent of $18.84, weighted average of $17.80, and a median of $18.75. So we're hovering around that. And then I specifically went the same way we did for vacancy to check in that area. We have an average of 4.15, and obviously median 0. So we have a weighted average of 5% vacancy and almost $80 for rent. The next page over, I isolated it, same comps, just looked at what was on Taylor. And as we can see, there's a bit of a drop there as far as vacancy to 2.5%. Again, there's only 3 properties there, and then a weighted average of $19.83. So an average of 21 and 29. So we're hovering around that $19, $20 range for Taylor, and a bit below market vacancy, as you would expect for these kind of properties. They are better class properties. So if we go through the comps, I'm giving you pictures of the comps, you can judge for yourself. Particular comp number 4 is most akin to the subject property. It's closer to an A. Subject property is an office A, or office suburban A. Number 4 is straddling that, as well as 850 Pembina. On 850 Pembina, there's 3 buildings, 860 and 870 and 890 are bordering on A, but they're not quite there. But as you can see, that's on the next page, on page 3. So, and then furthermore, again, for your convenience, you're just looking at what all the pictures are. You can judge for yourself. I will then go to page 5. Shows the subject property's location. It's on the corner of Waverly and Taylor. If it's adjacent to another A, that on that corner is the focal point for these kind of properties. As you can see, From the fenestration, you have quite a bit all the way around. Very desirable for tenancies. I can't tell you what the property is on the inside, I haven't seen it. So we'll leave it at that. There does appear to be some rental income for the parking. I disregarded that. I don't believe we should be putting that in for this specific hearing. On a site specific hearing, municipal perhaps, what we're simply dealing with or revision hearing, which would be site specific, so to speak. So I left the parking revenue out. But we can see that this building is it is one of the handful of properties that are better basically anything in this area. So it will be a day of our range. If we look forward to our next workup, which starts our next page, which starts on page 2. I apologize, the page numbers are off. My work starts on after page 4. I apologize to us. Numbers are off in there. So on the workup, it shows we did remove all of the office medical. We deem it office medical. We just have straight office now. There's 22,096 square feet. We have at $21.12. That produces a PGI of $466,668. Vacancies at 6%. Again, pause there for a moment. We're at $21 approximately. Vacancy at 6%. We see Taylor's at 2.5%, and the general area is around 5%, so a bit below. And we see that the rent is around $19 to $20 in that area, or just a bit above. So expenses at 3% non-recoverable, shortfall at $8 gives us a net operating income of $414,902, capped at 6.1. Again, leading back to the municipal board order, you see that 6.25 for a couple cycles earlier. We see the decline and plateauing of capitalization rates. I feel around 6% for this property is reasonable, came in at 6.1. So capped at that gives us our $6,802,000. It is below the sale of an established sale, but I still think that it is a fair value for assessment purposes at the $6,802,000. At that point, that's pretty much our position. That and multiple questions.
Okay, questions, Mr. Applicant. Mr.
For the sake of brevity, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Knight,
No, sir.
Ms. Anderson.
No questions, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And I have no questions. So we've heard all the property on today's hearing, and this hearing is now adjourned. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you.
I'll go take us offline, Mr. Chair.